There's a reason why a soldier, a warrior, never steps on a battlefield by himself. That is because battles were never meant to be fought alone. And life is a never-ending battle from the very beginning to the end. But why do we as men step onto the battlefield of life alone? Why don't we have someone watching our back? When things get tough, who can you call on to support you? And that is why it is so important that as men, we belong to a brotherhood of men who we can call on to give us that support when we need it the most. And I'm not speaking about friends who you can call up and share a beer with and just have a surface level relationship. I'm speaking about a community, whether this is one individual or a multiple men that can support us when we need it the most, men that can hold us accountable for our actions. That is what a man needs on this journey called manhood, on this journey of life, to belong to a brotherhood. And I know that this isn't something that society generally pushes. Society celebrates the independent man, that man who makes it on his own, which in essence isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, the independent man runs the risk of being an isolated man. When he achieves success in whatever endeavor and he sees that he achieves it alone, it may push him in the direction of isolation. And isolation can be very dangerous. But with a brotherhood, there is support. Support to help you cope. Cope when life becomes difficult. When you are facing the challenge of marriage, issues in your marriage, divorce, job loss, financial insecurities, health issues, or anything that affects you as a man, that support becomes necessary. That support becomes critical. When you're in a dark place by yourself, you need to be able to say, I'm not okay, that I need help. To be able to keep it real with another man, another brother, but yet still be respected. To not feel as if your manhood is being taken away, to be emasculated. That is why it is so important to belong to a brotherhood. There was one occasion where I found myself in a difficult situation. I'm sitting in my quarters. I was still in the army, and there was so much taking place in my life. And I sat there with a loaded pistol, and tears were streaming down my eyes. I wanted to take my life. There was so much taking place in my life at that time. My mother was terminally ill. My relationship that was almost a decade old was on the rocks. And every day I felt sad. I didn't know where it was coming from or what was the reason. I was just sad day in, day out for weeks. And then something happened on work where some critical equipment went missing. And because I was the leader, the responsibility fell directly on me. And as a result of that, I felt that pressure coming down on me. And I felt as if my world was closing in, that everything seemed dark, as if there was nowhere out. And my thought was, why not end this? Why not end this? Because no one cares. No one seemed to care. I felt alone, even though I was surrounded by so many other persons. Do you feel that way at times, where you feel alone? As a man, we often walk this journey by ourselves, and we think that it is strength, but in reality, it is taken away from our strength. We need that support. And thankfully, it was my daughters. My two daughters. I remembered my two daughters in that moment. And that is what pulled me away from the edge. That is what stopped me from taking my life. So had I been a part of a brotherhood, that I could have called up one of my brothers and say, things are tough. I need help. I need your support. I need your encouragement. Then someone could have stepped and given me that shoulder to lean on as a brother, as a man. And that is why I will always champion this. That there's this need, it's not a want, it's a need for brotherhood. For us to have brothers that we can lean on, that we can get that support from when we need it the most, and we can also reciprocate to give that support when another brother needs us. And having a brotherhood also plays a critical role in holding us accountable. Accountable in regard to our responsibilities as a brother, as a father, as a leader. To hold us accountable for our actions. What we do for our family. To remind us when we are stepping off course, to help bring us back. I think that if men had that type of support, we won't be seeing the level of violence that is plaguing our societies. That another man could step to that brother and say, you know what? I see something great about you. Someone who can hold him to a higher standard and not allow him to languish in mediocrity. Sometimes we need someone to remind us of how great we are. And if we don't know how great we are, for someone to point us in that direction. Sometimes that is all we need as men. I remember when I was very young, I think somewhere in my teenage years, I was about 17 or 18. And while visiting one of my cousins, her friend was a retired prison officer. And he looked at me and he said, I see something in you. I see something special, that you are going to do something great. And I laughed it off because I'm like, what What are you talking about? But it was only later down I was able to connect the dots that he was planting a seed in my life and showing me that there is more to life, there is more to my life, and there is more that I can achieve. And that is what is often necessary in society. That someone who has walked that path can guide someone who is far younger, who is inexperienced, and point them in the direction of that greatness that lies within them. That is what our young men need. Our young men need leaders, need men who have walked that path that can step back and guide them to a better life, a much more empowering life. And that is the importance of having a brotherhood, that we can get that support, but also we can be held accountable in our actions, accountable in who we become as men. That is so important. And as I am sharing this here with you, I am also doing that work because I had never been a part of a brotherhood. And only recently I connected with 5 other men older than me. They all live in different countries and belong to different ethnicities. And we have now formed a brotherhood to support each other, to encourage each other, to hold each other accountable. So I'm not only sharing this knowledge that is important for you to belong to a brotherhood, that I am taking my own advice, because I know it is easy to give advice, but it is truly difficult to take that same advice for yourself, especially when you need it the most. So I belong to brotherhood. I recently started, but nonetheless, I have brothers that I can call on to give me that support in this new phase of my life. So here is my challenge to you. My challenge to you is to become a part of a brotherhood, to go out and seek a brotherhood that you can belong to, that can support you and support your dreams. And if there isn't one, then create one. Start a brotherhood. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot of other men. Maybe it takes only one other person, a friend, a brother, a cousin, but someone who you and that individual can be there for each other as men. So if there isn't a brotherhood that you could join, then create yours. Don't wait for it to come. Take that step and begin that process to build your brotherhood. Because as men, we are struggling. We are suffering. We are trying to walk this journey here alone. And we are suffering in silence. We are suffering in isolation. It is one of the reasons why there is such a high percentage of men taking their lives. And these are young men to men who have retired. It is necessary, my friend, to belong to a brotherhood. And if there isn't one, then you make that decision to form one. You never know what or whose life you may save by making that step. And that life may very well be yours. If you find this content valuable, that this information is something that resonates with you, let me know in the comment section. Are you a part of a brotherhood? Are you going to form a brotherhood? And what are the benefits that you can see in belonging to a brotherhood? If you wish to see more stuff about men, check out this next video here. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace, brother.